Hello, I'm Mark Anderson, roving editor for American Free Press. The National Geographic Channel on cable is starting what looks like it's going to be a week-long series on 9/11 to retell the official narrative to the American people. The first guest on Sunday, August 28th, was none other than George W. Bush, the former president, of course, who was president at that time. Now, certain very stark contradictions have not been worked out in Bush's recollection of what happened when he was in a Florida classroom helping read to kids on that day. Other guests include Rudy Giuliani, who is this week going into August 29th at 8 p.m., and others throughout this week, and it promises to start what will be probably a cavalcade of propaganda to remind the American people that the official narrative should not budge, that this was 19 flying Muslims with box cutters, that this was done by Osama bin Laden, that they got Osama even though we never saw his dead body. It's in the bottom of the Indian Ocean. What do you know? But George W. Bush is really in a corner that he's backed himself into. Now, he says on a trailer for the National Geographic 9/11 special that he was notified, this is his words, he was notified that the first tower had been hit in New York City on 9/11, and that he thought upon being notified that it was just an errant pilot who must have been way off course, a terrible miscalculation must have taken place, indicating he didn't think anything of it being an attack. And then on the National Geographic show, his story, and he's sticking to it, is that he only learned it was an attack when, upon reading to the kids and getting into the classroom activities, his aide, Andrew Card, spoke in his ear in a, quote, Massachusetts accent, saying a second plane had hit the second tower, America is under attack, end quote, as Andrew Card allegedly told the former president. Now, beyond the fact of how curious it is that the president didn't jump right out of his seat and run out of the classroom to defend the nation for which he's commander-in-chief, aside from that, 3 months later, he told a gathering, and this is well documented on YouTube and elsewhere, that before entering the classroom, quote, I was sitting outside of the classroom waiting to go in, and I saw an airplane hit the tower on TV. The TV was obviously on. I used to fly myself, and I said, there's one terrible pilot. And then he characterized it as a horrible accident. But as many commentators have noted, and including American Free Press writers, no one could have seen the first plane crash on TV on September 11th, because clearly no one had set up a camera in advance of this surprise event, or did they? So the paradox here is that, number one, Mr. Bush on the National Geographic show says he was merely notified. He says nothing about seeing this on TV of the first plane crash, only learned of it in the classroom after Andrew Card whispered in his ear. 3 months later, he says nothing about being notified, but saw it on TV outside the classroom, immediately outside the room, and then entered the room thinking that it was an accidental collision with the World Trade Center tower, then entered the room and then was told by Andrew Card the second tower was hit and America was under attack. So this very, very brazen, very sharp contradiction still has not been overcome in Mr. Bush's strange narrative of 9/11. And AFP, having put out a special edition dated September 5 and 9/11, and you can check that out calling 888-699-NEWS, is going to take a hard look at this in this video you're watching now and in subsequent articles and analysis at the whole breadth and depth of propaganda being released now by National Geographic and other official establishment outlets. This one Mr. Bush has still not gotten around, and that is this two-story narrative he gives. Either he saw this thing on TV, the first tower being hit, then went into the classroom, and then learned of the second tower, then figured out we were under attack, or he was notified and never saw it on TV because we're saying he couldn't have, and then the rest was pretty much the same. He was told by Andrew Card we were under attack. Which is it, Mr. Bush? America cannot settle for these inherent contradictions. You cannot have two versions of a story that are contradictory and have them both be true. So this is a very, very important matter that just won't go away, Mr. Bush, and we've got to know the answers. And this is one key point to bring out among many others that will soon be brought out by AFP in our hard copy version and at this site, AmericanFreePress.net. And we'll see you next time. I'm Mark Anderson.